Hey, Mark Davis here, and we're talking about pre-spawn fishing when the water's still cold and the fish are first starting to move up. We're going to talk about catching them on moving baits. And some of my favorite moving baits and some techniques that I use to catch those fish. And you know, that time of the year, the fish, on some days, they can be really active. And other days, not so much, depending on the weather conditions. But on active days, you can really catch them really well on moving baits. And the first one we're going to talk about is a Redeye Shed. Now this is a 3/4 ounce. This is my new favorite color, and it is a new color to our lineup of colors. It's called Shizzle, and that is a great lure. But I will fish both the 1/2 and the 3/4 ounce Redeye Shed in this pre-spawn time. It's probably without a doubt the very best time to use a lipless bait is during the pre-spawn, when the water can actually be really, really cold. You know, still in the 40s and moving, but the key is it can be cold, but if the water temperatures are coming up, a lipless bait is a great way to catch them. And you'll be amazed a lot of times how fast you can wind these lures when that water's cold and still catch them. So that's one technique, one lure. My second choice is going to be a 3XD. Now, the Strike King 3XD was at the top of the list when I'm thinking about crankbaits. And in pre-spawn, this little bait has the right action, it runs the right depth, fishing on 12-pound line. It'll run anywhere from, depending on the length of the cast, anywhere from 6 to 8 feet deep. This is a citrus shad color. My favorite color in clear water in that pre-spawn is like a green crawfish or some type of a dark green crawfish pattern. We've got one that's called green crawfish. I really love it. You're wanting to look at, you know, places where those fish are just starting to move up, so you're looking at points, especially wind-blown, steeper banks, rock points, and it can be grass, it can be a number of different areas that you're going to find these pre-spawn bass in, but again, they're going to be adjacent to, leading back into those spawning areas. My third choice, the old bottom dweller. Now, this is a big spinnerbait from Strike King. I think a big spinnerbait is something that, I mean, I'm one of the Bassmasters Classic fishing a big Strike King spinnerbait. It wasn't a bottom dweller because this was a long time ago. We didn't have one this good. But the big spinnerbait is a lure that I think a lot of guys just don't really get, or they don't give it a try. Maybe they don't understand how versatile a big spinnerbait is. So I'm gonna fish this same lure in shallow water. And you think, well, why, if you're fishing shallow water, would you want such a big spinnerbait? Well, you're fishing on a big line. You're gonna use your rod to keep it up, but you can wind and you can just make long casts and keep it down. A lot of times when the water's cold, I don't want my spinnerbait up in the water column. I want it down, bumping the bottom. But I'll take this same spinnerbait and I'll back out on places where I might throw a Carolina rig or a football jig. So we're talking about ledges and deeper water, and I'll cast this same bottom dweller out, let it go to the bottom, and then slow roll it. You know, fishing on the bottom out there in that 8, 10, 15, even 20 foot of water, keeping that big spinnerbait. And this is a 1 ounce. We make them bigger, and we make them a little smaller, so they come in a 3/8, I think a 1 and maybe a 1 1/8 is the bottom dweller. So those are my 3 picks for moving baits when the water's cold during the pre-spawn.